Okay, for this week, you're going to need, for every video, you're going to need your notes to your future self, okay? And then we'll go through the notes to self that apply to what we're doing that day. And then we'll do a worksheet example after of how to apply what we've kind of learned, okay? So go get that stuff. If you need to pause the video, go ahead. I'm not pausing because I don't need to pause the video. So let's go through some very straight definitions here, okay? So a line is a straight line that continues forever in both directions. Okay, so the arrows on each end signify that they will continue forever in each direction. Now you may have to pause this video to catch up and write these little definitions down, or as we go through. I'll try to pace as best I can, but some people like to write different speeds or perfectly. Some people just whip through it. So don't worry, like just press the space bar, pause it, then give it back as we go. So a line segment is a piece of line with two fixed ends. So it's a piece of line with two fixed ends, as in they stop. So that each end is fixed. So it's the opposite of a line. And then our ray is a piece of line with one fixed end and one that continues on forever. One fixed end and that continues on forever. Now I need to save this as here so I don't accidentally erase my original copy. Okay, so there we go. A line continues forever on both ways. Segment stops at both ends. An array stops at one end and continues at the other end. Control, I'll put a little dot there. Okay. Next up, and some of these we've covered them, we've worked with them. Some are just logic. So parallel lines are two lines that are evenly spaced and never cross. You can even just go two lines that will never cross. Okay. So these are, and it's evenly spaced, of course, because if it wasn't evenly spaced, they'd cross eventually. So two lines that never cross are parallel. And usually that can be shown. And I only want you to trust this. If you see they have a symbol on like this. If they don't have a symbol on like that, they're not parallel. Okay? Never trust a diagram, as in like, don't measure this angle to see exactly what it is because the math will show you what it is. But in this case, trust that they need to have these two pieces on them. So signifying parallel. Okay. You might say, hey, the arrows are there. And like, no, they're not because those are two lines. All right. Next up, perpendicular line. So perpendicular lines cross at 90 degrees. So these are lines that cross at 90 degrees. Like this. Where is it? There we go. Cross at 90 degrees. We all know that. Now, acute angle. Acute angle, it says it right there. It's an angle that is less than 90 degrees. Okay? So acute, small. Think of like you describe a kitten as a cute kitten. It's less than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is an angle greater than 90 and less than 180 degrees. So it can't be 90, but it also can't be more than 180, right? So from 91 to 179, essentially. That's your obtuse angle. Now, a right angle is simply a 90-degree angle. Easy as that, 90 degrees. And 90-degree angles are shown with that little square in the corner. Okay? A straight angle is 180 degrees. Because if it's 180 degrees, it will make a straight line. A reflex angle is an angle greater than 180 and less than 360 degrees. So hypothetically, from 181 through 259, because if it's 180, it's a straight angle. And if it's 360, there is no angle because it's the exact same line over again. Oh, that says 259. Let's go 3 on that. And lastly, an angle bisector is, is it a line? How is the best? It's a ray. There we go. A ray that splits an angle in half. So it bisects it, cuts it right in half. So there's some terms that you'll see, and they're good to know, right? If you memorize these terms, just good to know. There's not going to be very many questions that ask about a straight line. You just need to know what a straight line is. You need to know what these mean. Okay. So what we're going to do next is each day we're going to go into angle theorems. And this, we're going to work on geometry and angles. So this is where we're going to work on, as we try to prove stuff, you just can't say it exists. You have to say why it exists and what's the angle theorem that proves you're thinking right. Okay. So the first thing here is a complementary angle theorem. So when you use this in like a math question, you'll write cat beside it. Complementary angle theorem. And a complementary angle are two angles that add to 90 degrees. Okay? So that's what you want to fill in there. 90 degrees. Now, if we take a look here, if I was answering this question, let's get my pen out. If I was answering this question, I would look here and I go, okay, I can know that's a 90-degree angle because I see this. I know that's 25, that's some number. So I would go 90 minus 25 equals 65. So I know that's 65 degrees. And I'd write, how do I know that? Well, complementary angle theorem, cat. You just write cat below it. And to double check it, you go 65 plus 75 equals 90. Now this one here, same thing. You know it's 90 degrees because it has the angle there. Now if it doesn't have that right there, don't assume it's 90, okay? So here we go 90, which is the full angle, minus the part angle we have, is 50. So we know that's 50 degrees. And write the angle there. So if I was marking this, you get 1 mark for this part and 1 mark for this part. Okay? Or sometimes I do this as my communication aspect. So cat, complementary angle. Now, supplementary. So SAT, S-A-T. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees because you have a straight line. So if I'm looking for x here, x is going to equal 180 minus 45, which would equal 135. So we know that's 135 in there. What proof do we have? SAT. SAT. So if we move over here, we have a straight line, so we recognize that's 180 degrees. Since it's a straight line, so 180 minus 95 would equal 85 degrees. So we know this is 85, and that's SAT. And we could check it by going 95 plus 85 equals 180. So we know we're good there. Now, reflex angle. Now, if we remember what a reflex angle was above, reflex angle is any angle that adds up to 360, right? So it's 180 to 180 to 360. But since we're working with the whole circle here, we're working with 360, right? Since a whole circle, right, would be 360 degrees. So if we look here, we're looking for this x part, which is this part of the circle, and we know this part of the circle. So all we'd have to do is go 360 minus 67, which equal 297, right? X equals that. How do we know? Well, reflex angle theorem, RAT. Now this one's a little different because we have two angles that we know, but we still need this big outside one. So the same principle works. 360 is all of it. We're going to minus off what we know. So what's that? 70, 80 off that? So that would equal 280. Right? 280 degrees would be x. Then make sure you write this. And our last one of the day is one we almost use the most. Opposite angles, OAT, opposite angle theorem. So angles on opposite sides of a crossing line are equal. Okay, so if we have two straight crossing lines, the opposite angle is equal. So for this one, this angle here is going to be equal with this angle. So that's 50 degrees. And this angle here is going to be equal to this angle here because they're opposite, 130. Now you could check this because we also have a straight line here. So 130 plus 50 should equal 180, which it does. Now if we do that, we just go out. This one here is going to equal this one here. So that's 145. And this one here is going to equal this one here, which is going to equal 35. Now you could also go 145 and then do a straight line here, but that includes math where I like to do copying instead. That looks like the worst E ever. There we go. That was the second worst E ever. So there's your notes to your future self today. Keep these this week, and keep them forever, but this is what every day we're going to build them up, and then your questions will relate right back to this. And as we go through, like today's questions will only be on this, but the next day's questions might be on those questions, plus also use this. So we're going to keep building. So let's do some questions. So first one here. Let me go review. So what's this one here? Well, we have our 90 degrees. So we know this is cat. So we're going to go 90 minus 35 equals 55 degrees. This is 55. Oh, I forgot this. Let me write that in there. So I know it may not be on your sheet, but trust this sheet here. So what do we do here? Well, we have a 90 degrees, right? So we're going to go 90 minus 10 equals 80. 80. And therefore, this is cut. Make this a little bigger. There we go. So now, look in here, now we have a straight line. These are wonderfully created straight lines by my ruler, not my free hand just wiggling away. So we know a straight line is how many degrees? 180. We're going to minus off what we know. So this equals 150 degrees. And that would be SAT, supplementary. Now we know all this is 180 degrees. Let's go 180 minus 60 equals 120. And we have to write our proof to go along with it. So this would be SAT. Now these are the easiest ones. Opposite angles. We have two lines across. So this is going to equal this, which is 80. Right? Now we could also figure this out. Right? So this here would have been opposite angle theorem. Now this here is supplementary. So it's 180 minus 80 equals 100. So this is 100. And that would be SAT. And then we can go opposite again for 100 here. Now I'll give you 10 seconds to fill this in because that's all the time it should take you. 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. So this here, opposite angle would be 140. Oops. Supposed to write out there. OAT. Now this here is straight line. Let's go 180 minus 140 equals 40. 40, and this is SAT. Then we'll go across. This will be 40 through OAT. Now let's do one here to find out everything we can. So let's start. Let's start with what we know here. Well, this here is a 90-degree angle, so let's figure this one out. So 90, minus 30 equals 60. So this here is 60. Perfect. Now all through this is a straight line. Oh, I forgot to write CAT there. So this is going to be 180 minus 60 minus 30, which would equal 90. And that is going to be straight line, so SAT. Now, this here is opposite, so that's 90. This here is opposite, that's 60, and that's opposite, that's 30. And all those are through OAT, right? And you can kind of separate them, like when I look at the 30 here, I'm not including this line here, I include this horizontal line here, and this line here. So if I were to highlight those smallly, where's my thickness? That's way too small. Let's go. Oh, come on. There. If I were to highlight this, when I'm looking at the 30, oh my God, I gotta do this over again. I'm looking at this line here and this line here as my crossover spot. Okay. And for this one, I'd be looking for this one and this one for the 60. Okay, next one. So let's use opposite angles first. So that's going to give me 70 opposite angles. Okay. So let's write OAT up here. It's also going to give this one, 80, which would be OAT. This here is going to be 180 degrees because it's a straight line. So 180 minus 80 equals 100. And that is, yep, SAT. This is going to be 100 through OAT. Then we do the same thing on the side. 180 minus 70 equals 110. And that is SAT. Then it goes over through OAT. Oops. There we go. And that's OAT as well. Okay. So hopefully those, 3 or 4 theorems there. A little bit longer video today because we're building out our Notes Our Future Self though. But you guys will fly through the work. Okay. Have a great Monday.